Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this part 2 of how to find your pen and ink drawing style, I'm going to be showing you the easiest way for developing your style using only a two-step process. And I'm not kidding, it really is very simple. And remember, as artists, having your own pen and ink style is like having your own signature, and it's what makes you unique. It separates you from other people and other creators. That's why in this video, I'm going to be teaching you exactly what you need to be focusing on during those intentional pen and ink drawing study sessions. Because you honestly need to stop just guessing and trying to draw from imagination for hours and hours, just hoping that your style will magically appear. It does not work that way. And before you start thinking this is just clickbait or too good to be true, just try the method for only 15 minutes a day, okay? So if you're serious and you're ready to speed up the process of finding your ink drawing style, then keep watching because in this part 2 video, I get into the good stuff, alrighty? So this is how we're gonna do this. In this video, we will get into understanding how to choose your subjects to study, what to do to train your eyes to see light and shadow, which are depicted in your references, how to actually keep your new pen and ink drawing style in your head for good, and even what do you do if you can't choose between pen and ink styles or artists to study because you love so many different ones. It's something that I struggle with, and I know some of you struggle with, okay? So then we'll even get to see firsthand the exact process unfold as I use that process from this video to create crazy cool pen and ink drawings using my unique style. And trust me, it comes out pretty crazy. So you want to stick around to see how it comes out at the end, all right? Okay, so enough hyping up this video and this process. Let's get started. The first step is study other artists and art styles every day by actually copying their drawings. Okay, so what are we supposed to study? Well, you have a lot of references that you categorize and you got ready for your study through your source gathering that we all did in the part 1 video. So now let's look through those references and pick the references that you want to start studying. And I suggest you don't try to study elaborate illustrations. Rather, just pick a part of that illustration or part of the figure that you're trying to learn. You may even want to learn how to draw the trees or the mountains of that illustration in pen and ink drawing. Or you just may want to draw the hands or the head. Good. Focus on that one thing for that day. And make sure you set a timer for 15 minutes. I recommend setting a daily alarm to remind you of your pen and ink study time. Mine used to be set as soon as I finished eating dinner with my family after I got off of work. Now, I don't need an alarm anymore. It's just part of my life, and it'll naturally be that way with you as you continue this process. Now, this is very important. If you're still very new to using pen and ink, I have to recommend that you begin your study with a very light pencil sketch first. And that's to get in all the rough lines, especially if you're new to perspective and proportion and things like that. For pencils, I recommend a 2mm lead holder, nothing fancy. Whatever works for you, use it. But I do suggest that you use a 2H or 2B hardness pencil. This will ensure that you use very light lines that can be very easily erased after you finish inking. As for pens, I recommend different pens for different styles of pen and ink, but you honestly can't go wrong with a fine liner and a nylon brush pen. The pen you choose will only help add to your style, so get bold, be creative, and experiment with pens. All right, so now let's go over how to train your eye to see light and shadow. You're going to need to identify the light and shadow in your study reference. Identify where in your study reference are the hatching and bold black lines and try to imitate that with your pencil. This is important and it'll serve as a warm-up for you. Begin roughing in your objects with the pencil and experimenting with the line weights and the mark making. Okay, so now that you've roughed in your object with your pencil, take another look at the reference. This time, put on your study spectacles and identify where the light source is coming from. What areas are there deep shadows and what areas have very little hatching or ink markings. This is the foundation of your ink markings, so make sure you're taking this part very seriously. Now it's time to start inking. Keep that light source in mind. Take a look at some of the marks in your study reference and identify where the lines are the thinnest and thickest. This is called line weight. Now look to see where hatching lines begin and end. The beginning of the hatching stroke will usually be a thicker, bolder line, and it'll taper off into a feathered look as the pen leaves the paper. All right, so practice these marks with your objects. This is the bread and butter of your inking style. And remember, it's not about copying other artists. It's about training your eye so that you can make better decisions in your lines. Do that so that you can depict 3D form on 2D paper. And remember this one thing. We're trying to think in three-dimensional form. What forms are in your objects? What is being depicted? If you can't register that in your head, then I would recommend sketching it in practice on the side of your paper. This will help your mind map out what you're lacking in that particular object that you're trying to draw. Okay, this is the key with inking, so that you're inking with intention, and it'll stop you from guessing every time you're trying to make a mark. Okay, now let's go over how to keep that new pen and ink style in your head that you've been studying. Stick with me, okay, because 15 minutes is going to fly by very quickly. So don't be alarmed if you don't get much done. Remember, the goal is consistency. And over the days and weeks, you're going to have built a habit that no one can take away from you. This phase of your 15-minute a day pen and ink study session will last as long as you need it to, but I do recommend doing this every day for at least a week straight before you just jump straight into the second step. Okay, so what is the second step? It is to begin alternating days of copying the pen and ink drawing style with drawing from observation using that specific ink style that you're studying. I go over this briefly in the part 1 video I made last week, but this is where the magic happens, and you're guaranteed to solidify your new ink style. So you're going to be drawing from observation. And if you're new to observational drawing, then I highly recommend starting from a photo reference. The key is to draw real life objects and figures and environments, not drawings. I use photo references from Unsplash, paused movie scenes, or good old Pinterest. And you can find tons of figure references to draw in various poses. Set a timer for 15 minutes and try to draw from only the real photo reference. That's the key to this. It's like a mini quiz. If you've been practicing a very stylized pen and ink style, then try to emulate that when you draw faces or trees from your photo references. When you are practicing your ink style during this phase, the very act of trying to recall that style while observing a real life photo does something remarkable to your brain. This is known as the active recall method of learning, and it's mixed with a splash of spaced repetition method. All you need to know about these methods is that they're academically proven methods used for learning anything, and typically used by students who are in medical school. You're going to find that as you quiz yourself with observational drawing, that your brain will fight to recall the pen and ink drawing style you've been studying, so that it can problem solve your way through this drawing. And that's the secret. This is how you solidify your style into your brain for good. It's intentional study with active recall sessions performed in alternating days. Simple as that. Okay? So now what do you do when you can't choose between 2 or 3 or even several ink drawing styles? What if you like the art of Karl Kopinski or Alex Vede or Frank Vazetta? Well, it's actually a pretty simple solution. I recommend focusing on one pen and ink style a week and rotating weeks. If you're able to, and you have the discipline and time, then I recommend bumping up the study sessions from one 15-minute session a day to 2 15-minute sessions a day. This will allow you to study multiple styles simultaneously without burning out. By alternating these styles once a week, then coming back to that style to study the following week, you'll be doing what is called the spaced repetition method, which is a fantastic way of learning anything new, especially an art style. And remember, the key is to be consistent, building up gradually to hours a day, because let's face it, if becoming an illustrator or an artist for your profession is your dream, then you're going to be drawing for hours a day. Okay, so you got to get used to it. All right, so I hope this helped. I tried to clarify as much as I could from the first video I made last week. And remember, we're gifted by God with gifts and talents for His glory, and it's our job to develop them and share the good news with others. And also, if you consider liking and subscribing, it will help this channel grow and reach more aspiring illustrators and artists wanting to learn more about illustration. And now I want you to sit back and watch as I do the exact process described in this video to create a pen and ink drawing in a style that I love. I used a photo reference from my daughters and only allowed myself to imagine the rest of the illustration based on what I had been studying the week before. I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you next time.